Dear friends, this is episode number 65 of the Limitation Act. We are dealing with adverse possession and Article 64 and 65 of the Limitation Act. Now I said that I'll deal with the principles regarding adverse possession first, then we will come back to Article 64 and 65. Now the classical requirements of adverse possession. Classical requirement of adverse possession. Please note: nec vi, nec clam, nec precario. Latin words. Nec vi, N-E-C-V-I. Nec clam, N-E-C-C-L-A-M. Nec precario, N-E-C, next word P-R-E-C-A-R-I-O. Meaning thereby, possession required must be adequate in continuity, in publicity and extent. And it is peaceful, open, notorious, continuous. That possession must be open without any attempted concealment. Person against whom the time is running out, if he exercises due diligence, he will be aware of such denial of right. See, I am the owner of the property. You trespass upon the land. I know about it. You are not allowing me to enter into the property. You are continuously occupying the land, taking income, collecting rents, cultivating the property, and that possession continued for the required time, that is 12 years under Article 65. Then it can be said that you have prescribed title by adverse possession. What will happen thereafter? By your prescription of title by adverse possession, my title goes. That is section 27. At the determination of the period hereby limited for filing a suit for possession, the right itself shall stand extinguished. The right itself will go. So my right and title and possession to the property which was negated by you, which was challenged by you, and you continued in possession, adverse to my interest, openly, continuously, uninterruptedly, and without any attempted concealment, not sporadic act of possession, then my right will be extinguished under section 27. It can be said that you have perfected a title by adverse possession, and by that process my title will vanish and you will become the title holder. Various views have been expressed over the years. Is it not unjust? Yes, unjust to some extent. Then what is the principle behind it? That in matters relating to immovable property cannot be put in a fluid state of affairs for long. There must be certainty. There are certain incidents attached to the immovable property. Certain rights are exercised in a particular manner. Transactions take place. Records are kept. And records must reflect the true state of affairs. Revenue must be collected. Possession can be changed. Transactions can be entered into. Lease, mortgage, all those things. Where is the certainty? So there must be some certainty with respect to immovable property. Otherwise, that principle itself will not be there. Once a title holder, unless that title is divested by any of the known methods, that title holder continues to be the title holder. But it is not so. Possession is 9 points in law, is the principle, old principle. Possession matters. Nature of possession matters. Animus possedendi must be there, and the act of possession must also be there. It is not a secret affair, it is an open one, it is a continuous one, and it is denial of the owner's right. Then it becomes adverse possession. And by adverse possession, the title of the real owner vanishes, and the person in adverse possession prescribes title by adverse possession. Now let us see what are the principles. Some of the principles. Then we will go to the decisions also. Adverse possession is commenced in wrong and is aimed against right. For example, I said that my property was trespassed upon by you. Is it a rightful act? No. It is a wrongful act. It is actionable. But I do not take any action. I do not file a suit. I do not resist. So your wrongful act by a flex of time becomes right. Period is there, 12 years. It is not a short period. So adverse possession is commenced in wrong and is aimed against right. A person is said to hold the property adversely to the real owner when that person, in denial of the owner's right, excluded him from the enjoyment of his property. I am prevented from enjoying, still I do not take any action known to law. I have got enough remedies. I do not seek any remedy. I do not dispossess you forcibly also. Suppose I am the rightful owner, I am the title holder, I am in possession. You dispossessed me. That is a wrongful act. And then you are in settled possession. I dispossess you again. I say I regain possession. That is also a wrongful act. But still, what can you do? Can you file a suit against me on the basis of title? No. Why? Because you have no title. Can you file a suit for dispossession, complaining about dispossession under Article 64 of the Limitation Act? No. Why? Because the possessor who has lost possession by a wrongful act of another can file a suit complaining of dispossession that except against the true owner. I am the true owner, therefore you cannot file a suit. Then what remedy you can have? Section 6 of the Specific Relief Act, under which you have been wrongfully dispossessed. While you were in wrongful possession, you were wrongfully dispossessed by me. Still it is wrongful. My act is wrongful. Therefore you can complain about that wrongful dispossession. You can file a suit under Section 6 of the Specific Relief Act based on your previous possession. You can get a decree also. But that decree is subject to a title suit which I may file. Suppose I file a title suit based on title. What is your defense? Nothing. You have no title. All those things happen before you perfect title by adverse possession, before you prescribe title by adverse possession, by possessing adversely with the required animus for a continuous period of 12 years. Then you become the owner. You cannot be ousted. If I oust you, you can file a suit on title. There was a controversy on that in the Supreme Court. Now it is settled by the decision in Grewal's case. Though those decisions were cited while dealing with Section 27, I think we will go through it again. Therefore, even if it is repeated, there is nothing wrong in it. Possession, the ingredients are: possession must be open and without any attempt at concealment. However, it is not necessary that the possession must be so effective as to bring it to the specific knowledge of the owner. That is not the requirement. See, I am working in Delhi. While I was in Kerala, I am a Keralite. I got property in Kerala. You are my neighbor, you dispossessed me and started enjoying the property, possessing the property, taking use rights. And paying, revenue payment, it is difficult, but still you start payment of revenue. I know it. I went back to Delhi. I do not know what happened thereafter, but still the possession continues. My right will be extinguished. Whereas you, by a secret method, you are a neighbor, you also cooperate with me in my cultivation activities and all those things. You nurture a secret intention that you must get at the property, and you do the agricultural work, and you take say a share of income also on my grace. You cannot term it as adverse possession. Though I am not entering into the land and cultivating the property with say all agricultural activities, you are doing it on my behalf. You are my caretaker. So your possession is not adverse to me. Your possession is under me. Then that possession is not adverse. Or I grant a license to you. Your possession as a licensee is not adverse. So it is not mere continuance of possession for 12 years or 20 years or 40 years or 50 years. That is not enough. What is the nature of that possession? Would all the ingredients of adverse possession apply? Where is the animus? Not secret animus. You may nurture a secret animus in your mind, I do not know. The rest of the world does not know. That is not adverse possession. And you are on my behalf, you are a lessee under me. So you are having a lesser right. I am the true owner. I am having the paramount title. You are a lessee. So your title is derivative. You cannot say that the lease was 20 years back and therefore my possession is adverse. No. There is estoppel also under the Evidence Act. So that possession is permissive possession. Or I enter into a contract of sale with you. I am the owner of the property. I agree to sell the property to you. I take an advance, sizable amount, and I put you in possession. That possession continue. That possession is not adverse. Suppose I do not file a suit for recovery of possession, file a suit for specific performance of contract or for recovery of possession within a particular time. Not recovery of possession, sorry. I suppose I do not file a suit for specific performance within the time prescribed. I will not be able to get a decree for specific performance. That does not mean that your possession is adverse. I lost the remedy of specific performance. But if you file a suit, I can resist it on the basis of my possession, my title. Or a mortgagee, I am the owner, I receive money from you, take a loan from you, and I mortgage the property in your favor. You are a mortgagee. Your possession is referable to me, referable to my title, under my title, subsidiary to my title. Therefore, you cannot, so long as the mortgage continues, you cannot prescribe adverse title against me. These are all the settled principles. So, to prove adverse possession is very difficult. Very, very difficult. All the ingredients of adverse possession. But once it is proved, it will have drastic consequences. Possession must be hostile, actual, open, notorious, exclusive, and continuous, continued for the required period of time. See, what are all the ingredients? These are all the tests to be applied. Must be hostile, actual, open, notorious, exclusive, and continuous. What is an authority? I am the owner. All the people in the neighborhood know that you a neighbor, you have trespassed upon the property and ousted me. You are in wrongful possession. People may say that that poor fellow was ousted and this man who is not a genuine person or he is not a good man, but he is continuing in possession. Notoriety is there. That notoriety will not confer me right. On the other hand, that notoriety may land me in trouble. Mere sporadic acts of possession exercised from time to time would not be sufficient for the acquisition of title by adverse possession. You are my neighbor. You trespass upon the property, do something, pluck some coconuts stealthily and go away when I am not there. You are not doing anything. You do not admit that you have plucked coconuts from my plantation, coconut garden. You are not claiming any possession also. Your possession is not open. You do it clandestinely. Sporadic acts, not continuous. No intention to possess adversely. No animus possidendi. Though you may have an ultimate goal to somehow or other grab the property, that is not enough. Mere sporadic acts of possession exercised from time to time would not be sufficient. Adverse possession depends on the intention of the occupant to claim and hold the land in opposition to the whole world. Consists of actual possession with intent to hold the property solely by the possessor to the exclusion of all others. Possession implies what? Possession implies dominion and control and the consciousness in the mind of the person having dominion, as distinguished from occupation, which only implies bare use of land without any right to retain it. That is a distinction. So possession is control, dominion over it with intention. Possession and adverse possession are not synonym. Same thing. Now we go to certain principles, certain decisions, where these principles have been discussed in detail. Now, I will cite the same decisions which I cited while dealing with section 27, then go to some other old decisions and some other theories, some other principles, and so that the position will be very clear. And when you take the commentaries of adverse possession, commentaries of Articles 64 and 65, it runs to hundreds of pages. Now one more thing I would like to make mention here. We will come to it in detail while dealing with Article 64 and 65. In the 1908 Act also similar provisions were there. Article 64 corresponds to Article 137. Generally speaking, there are so many articles. Article 65 corresponds to Article 142 and plus some other articles, portions of some other articles. Now, what was the position under the 1908 Act? I am the owner, example, I am the owner, title holder. I was in possession, I continued in possession. You have no right over the property. You trespassed upon the property. And a few years passed. I file a suit on title against you for recovery of possession based on my title. I have to get possession from you. You are in wrongful possession. Under the 1908 Act, I had to prove that I was in possession within 12 years. Suppose your defense is that you are in possession for last 25 years continuously, all these things, ingredients. It is not for you to prove the ingredients of adverse possession, but for me to prove that I was in possession within 12 years. How to prove it? Very difficult. Very difficult. So that was the position under the 1908 Act. Therefore, very many suits this question, the commentaries will show it. Under the old Act, 1908 Act, very many suits were dismissed on the preliminary ground that the plaintiff failed to prove possession within 12 years. Without the court examining my title, without the court examining the ingredients of adverse possession raised by the other side, and only on the ground that the plaintiff failed to prove dispossession within 12 years, suits were being dismissed. And that was sought to be remedied by the 1963 Act, by providing in Article 65 that the starting point of limitation is the date from which the possession of the defendant becomes adverse. And Article 64 was also suitably changed, though it is based on possession and dispossession, but still it is not. Now what is the possession under the 1908 Act and the present Act? In the present Act, I am the title holder. You are in wrongful possession. I do not know when you started possessing it. I am elsewhere, working elsewhere. I file a suit. I found, when I came back, I found that you are in possession of the property, wrongful. I filed a suit against you. You claimed adverse possession. Under the present Act, so long as my title is not disputed, or so long as I prove my title, I need not prove anything else. I need not prove dispossession. So after the 1963 Act, the date of dispossession in a suit under Article 65 is irrelevant. Probably for the purpose of computation of the period of 12 years, etc., all those things may be irrelevant, but it is not for the plaintiff to prove that he was dispossessed within 12 years. It is for the defendant to prove that he has perfected title by adverse possession. The whole thing changed. The whole scenario changed. The whole burden of proof changed. And therefore the suits cannot be dismissed on the preliminary ground that the plaintiff failed to prove possession within 12 years. This is the welcome change brought out by the 1963 Act. So we have to see the history of the Act also. We have to see the legislative changes, and you have to read the commentaries of Article 64 and 65, which runs into several pages, but once you spend time to read it, it will be clear, crystal clear. And so that when a case comes to you, there will be no difficulty in applying the facts of the case to the points of law. Otherwise, you have to study the law at that time and then apply. See, once you are thorough with these principles, see, whenever a case comes to you, you need concentrate on facts, and you can modulate the facts in such a way that it suits with the principles of law. You will not make a foolish argument, a contention, which lands you sometimes in trouble. All those things will not arise once you are sure of the principles. So that is why these are important. And once you read Grewal's judgment, the theory, origin, etc., many of the things will be clear. So this is an area, unlike other sections, the legislative history, the change in law, all becomes very, very relevant. The whole thing has changed, as I said. See, it is one thing to say it is for the plaintiff to prove that he has been dispossessed within 12 years. I am the title holder. I have to prove with materials that the defendant is in possession. He is comfortable. Wrongful possession. He agrees that it is wrongful. But he says that he started his wrongful possession 25 years back. He need not prove anything. I have to prove that wrongful possession commenced within 12 years. so that he has not perfected title by adverse possession. See, once I fail to prove that I am in possession within 12 years, my suit based on title for recovery of possession goes. Whereas now, I need not prove anything. My title is not disputed, I need not prove anything. Say I am the title holder. You agree that you are the title, that I am the title holder. Once you put forward the plea of adverse possession, most probably you have to agree to my title, original title. Then you say that you trespassed upon. That means admitting that you are, I am the title holder. Or you put forward a derivative title, some other lesser right under me, or some tenancy right under me. Then it is for, I need not prove anything. So I am in a very comfortable position. Under the 1963 Act, the title holders are put in a very comfortable position to file suits and to get decrees. It is the wrongdoer who has to prove many things. So it is a welcome change, no doubt about it. So my dear friends, you have to see the legislative history before going into any other thing. What was the law then and what is the law now? And then trace the history, study the changes brought out, and then apply the principles. Be thorough with the principles so that you can take up any challenge in any suit, any appeal or any revision. We will see in the next episode. Thank you.